Hello, everyone. This is Jamie Flinchball, host of People Solve Problems, and today we have a special guest, Jim Benson. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on. It's probably been too long already. You've been a guest on, other podcasts, but
Hmm.
little introduction is Jim's one of the co-founders of the Modus Institute. His two books, The Personal Kanban and The Collaboration Equation, it really sort of helped create the personal Kanban. I am a huge advocate of that. I use it I use it every day. It's how I manage my work. Um, he's a big on collaboration and visual management as really the only ways that both lean and agile ever work well.
Hmm.
And I think in the lean community, I'm often critical, including of myself, of sort of lean thinkers who don't really apply what they preach to their own work. And I think Jim is a role model in doing that. Really, really tries to walk the talk in what you're talking, and I think you're a standout on that equation itself.
Well,
So
thank you.
thanks for modeling what you speak about. So let's jump into things. Your most recent book, Collaboration Equation, it's a big word for you. It's an important word.
Hmm.
But it's also a word,
Oh, sure.
collaboration, that a lot of people, I think, sort of pepper with other words that cloud its meaning, uh, whether that's consensus or other things, that
Hmm.
sort of cloud the meaning of collaboration. So when you talk about collaboration, what does that word even mean?
For me, collaboration is two or more people working towards a common goal. And it doesn't mean that you're in the same room at the same time. It doesn't mean you're touching the same product or the same post-it notes. It means that you have a common goal and you've set up a system where everyone has what they need to act with confidence in the attainment of that goal.
I love that. And act with confidence. That confidence, that's a big word in itself. And as you're working in a team, however big that
Hmm.
team is, that confidence can go down. Not only am I working on the right things, am I doing it right, but is everybody else doing so as well?
Hmm.
And hey, you're doing that. I'm super worried and distracted about what you're doing too, instead of
Hmm.
focusing on what I'm doing. So what helps enable that confidence? Because I think that's a huge factor.
Well, so I'll introduce it with one observation, and then I will tell a quick story. So the observation is that the world actually runs on confidence. So the free market system runs entirely on consumer confidence.
Right.
And it is crazy to me that we don't actually apply that in the economies of how we work together. And in the beginning of the collaboration equation book, I tell the story of a guy named Kevin Chase, who was a young guy at Turner Construction in New York, and he was a procurement agent. We set up with him and Obeya a whole bunch of visual controls, a big Kanban to track the procurement process for a $1 billion plus construction project that he was the procurement agent for in New York. And his job was to buy everything from structural steel to rolls of toilet paper for this building.
Hmm.
So everything that would go into it, this at that time young guy would be able to. And now he's probably watching this, going, "I'm still young," but uh, he was responsible for everything, and so obviously there's a tremendous number of ways to go very, very wrong with that, and it's a lot of stress. And so every day he would come in and he would do his work. It was entirely based in spreadsheets initially, and then he would have to justify every decision, every action that he was making to three levels of management above him. And those people, when they would see his work, would then comment on it. And what comment means is criticize.
Right.
So it's like I need to mentor this young man. So they give him all of this information, and all of it is either insulting his intelligence or it's second guessing what he did when the decision that he made didn't need to be second guessed.
Right.
So he has this Obeya. We bring in all of the HR people from Turner Construction, like globally, are smashed into this little Obeya. And they ask him, does this improve your work-life balance? And he's like, I work in construction in New York. Nothing is going to change my work-life balance. He says, but what does happen is that right now, Charlie Whitney, Charlie Murphy, everybody else that is working around here that he doesn't work with every day, but who are responsible, or that he's accountable to, I should say.
Hmm.
Not people aren't responsible for him, he's accountable to them. And which means basically he's the person to blame. So what he said was, when I put things on this board, these other people can see it at any time. They know when something's in trouble and when it's not. They know when something's in trouble and I can deal with it, or something is in trouble and I need help. They know now when they can apply their expertise to what I'm doing, as opposed to just commenting on everything and making and feeling like they have to. And he said, and that lets me act with confidence.
Hmm.
And when he said that, I was in the room and I was like trying really hard not to cry, because as a continuous improvement person, you don't get a lot of gifts in this life.
Yeah.
And so what was beautiful about that was that then I realized, oh my God, most people don't.
Right.
And that's when I realized that what we're doing in Lean or Agile or Obeya or anything else, Prince 2, PMI, whatever we're calling it, what we're actually doing is removing toxicity from the workplace. We're not throughput, cycle time, all bottlenecks, all of those things are secondary to how beings are treating each other.
Hmm.
And that's why we're building the Obeyas. That's the thing, is to make work better for the humans doing the work.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I love just sort of for those that want to find their own insights in the world, that being curious and observant in that moment where the light bulb went on and the dots connected for you is huge. And I would say very often, and especially in 2021 when nobody could hire anybody, it's like, well,
Hmm.
are we getting the most out of the people we have? And they were more focused on trying to hire than they were on how do we get more out of people, not by grinding them out, right? But allowing them to act by
Yeah.
stuff out of their way, getting that toxicity out. So I think there's so much more room to go in terms of, I'll just say our capacity as organizations by
Mhm.
removing those constraints.
Right now there's a big push by CEOs to institute 6-9 work weeks, 6 days, 9 hours a day of people working unbelievably ineffectively.
Hmm.
And then they come back and they say, well, we want you to be efficient, so tell me what you're doing. And that just means that fundamentally people don't understand how work works
Right.
and how value creation during the working process works, especially with knowledge workers. And that most people are working probably at about 300% capacity already,
Hmm.
and which means that they're probably working at about 25% effectiveness. And if we can just create a better understanding of what a person can handle, and also better define the work up front, which is something that we've kind of made an ethos of getting away from. But
Hmm.
now we're starting to realize, okay, maybe actually understanding what we want to do, we can be flexible and we can change a lot, we can pivot a lot, but we do actually have to be aligned on what we're doing and how. That we can easily increase the effective throughput of a team by 200 or 300%, but at the same time make work easier to do. And that's the frustrating thing, is it's not like, no, we're not coddling people. We're actually tuning the engine, not to bleed them dry, but to allow them to use their creativity and enjoy their time doing the work that they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And so so some of that is as a shift in the environment, a shift in the ownership. And some of that, just tying it back to problem solving means there's still going to be problems, things that go wrong in the system, in the environment, in the work process. Um, So, as you have a team that has more ownership over their work, how do they go about really managing their problem landscape? I'll say this sarcastically, without someone above them telling them what the problems are. How how do we build confidence in the team identifying the problems that they need to focus on?
Right. So there's a lot of things that's you just hit the on button for a 5 hour long lecture, buddy. So to overly simplify in the worst possible ways, the first thing is that leadership and the team can no longer be separate. There is no more going to the Gemba. The Gemba needs to be engaged. The Gemba needs to be engaged, and you need to be part of the Gemba
Mhm.
if you are leadership. If there is that division, then that division is always going to be an information decision making and a host of other bottlenecks. Those bottlenecks in turn create impedances in the system that stop work from flowing and make it in people unable to act with confidence. So what gave Kevin the ability to act with confidence wasn't more engagement with leadership. It was smarter engagement with leadership that made leadership part of the project. Leadership's role now was very clear. When Charlie Whitney or Charlie Murphy wanted to see something, they would walk by the Obeah, they would look, they would know that every 3 or 4 days they needed to look at it and that there might be something in there for them to do. And if it was even more urgent, then Kevin would come and visit them. There was a set system in place that was visible, defendable, maintainable, operationalizable, shareable,
Mhm.
huggable, lovable, anything else you want to add within a bull. It was an incredibly simple yet effective way to let everyone act with confidence, not just Kevin, but all of the levels of leadership, which meant that they were now a team with definite team roles. The thing that kills collaboration, kills independent action, kills innovation faster than anything else is the see me before you. See me before you do that. All right. Seeing you is now a thing I have to do. It is now an impedance. I'm less likely to want to do that. Therefore, over time, I won't do that. You
Right.
might not be available. You might not like the idea. It's going to be a long conversation. Now, it doesn't mean that leadership can't say, don't, that there's not boundaries. Like you cannot fiscally, if you work at GE Healthcare, you can't just like call up a supplier one day and say, send me 1 million widgets without actually having it funded. So there's obviously going to be a workflow of everything that includes roles and responsibilities. But right now, what happens is people are so unsure. There's that word, the confidence thing, certainty, confidence, surety all go together, that they don't know what they can do and when to help the company.
Yep. No, I think that being unsure and the see me before you, um, often comes about because we don't actually know. We aren't actually thinking about what could go wrong. We're just imagining stuff will. And a lot of
Hmm.
what could go wrong if somebody makes an imperfect decision, and I'll say not the wrong decision, just an imperfect decision,
Hmm.
is often very minor. It might cost us some time. I mean, most of us aren't, deciding where to place the scalpel on heart surgery. So, or laying the demolition to take a
Hmm.
skyscraper down. So it's recoverable, whereas the human potential side of this is not as recoverable.
100%.
Over time, of course it is, but not in the moment. So the cost benefit, the risk reward of that equation is sort of we're overstating the risk um, of giving people some empowerment and uh,
Hmm.
and underappreciating the reward in that.
Yeah.
So I like how you framed all of that. I think and earlier you said, clear role. I think this is a key phrase, have a clear
Hmm.
role. What's the role of leadership in this? I think we don't go back to that. We just sort of assume leadership gets to do what they want. It's like, no, there's a clear role, and we should define that and be a servant of that. So in terms of clear roles, one of those roles is kind of just tying back to problem solving again, is there's a lot of problem solving and a lot of troubleshooting and a lot of just whack-a-mole stuff where we're just trying to
Hmm.
get through the problem. And there's other times where we really want to stop, be thoughtful, rethink the system, rethink the strategy, rethink something
Hmm.
big. And so we have this flurry of problems, as we talked about. And so not only someone, but also somehow we have to distinguish between everyday firefighting problem stuff that's just
Hmm.
nuisances versus when we should be thoughtful. So how do you guide about the who, the when, and the where of that decision?
Oh wow. It's like when you asked that, it was like, wow, it's like all of a sudden there's like this queue of stories. And then they're all like stuck right now in the turnstile trying to get through at the same time. So there's a to frame this, there's a continuum of opportunities that companies have every single day to make things more profitable, more enjoyable, increase retention, increase customer retention, employee retention. And a lot of those things are just making everyday work less onerous for the people who are doing it. And we've gone through a million different, well, not a million, but certainly an uncountable number of value stream mapping exercises where the where we found lots of things to improve, and the tendency was to call those problems.
Hmm.
And every single one of those was always an opportunity to get two or more people in the value stream to work better together, which then solved lots of other issues just by them being aware of the impacts of their work on other people in the value stream. I didn't know you needed that. I can easily do that. I hated actually providing this to you. It was just how I was told to do it. How can we do this better? And we call all of those collaborative opportunities.
Hmm.
And we find that almost every bottleneck in modern business is a collaborative opportunity. And it's most often tried to be solved with non-collaborative means. Go figure out how to fix this, get a new piece of software, do this or do that. But what it really is person A having a piece of information and then providing it to B wrong in the wrong format, B transmogrifying that into some other bad format, and then handing that to person C. And all you really need to understand is the flow of information and what's needed. And almost instantly, you fix the problem without investing a single dime in the product. Now, on the other side of this, you have the other part you mentioned, which is like the corporate strategy side. And what usually happens, uh, forgive me, listener, if you're a leader and you don't do this, don't take offense. And if you do this, just go, oh yeah, that's me. But what I find is that most companies that we work with their leadership team, their LT will go off to Cancun or somewhere. They will drink heavily. They'll spend a few hours with some facilitator making a strategy for the year, and then they will come back. Or worse yet, they will hire a big name consulting company to come in up with their strategy for you.
Hmm.
The number of people in your company raised to the power of the number of people in your company is the value of business strategists that you have in your company. And I'm not going to do any math for that for you,
Right.
but just know that the number of that it is an exponential gain. If you say, you know what, we're going to take a week off, everybody, and we are going to work on business strategy. We're going to do a bunch of different exercises, and in the end, we're going to come up with our strategies, our tactics, our measures, our true north. But as a group, we're going to do that so that we get the best ideas from all of these brains that we're employing. We're going to drop all these things into some visual control like an X matrix, and we're going to be able to see the damn thing. And then we are going to be able to display that everywhere, and everyone will know what it means because they had a part in putting it together.
Yep.
And then when they're doing their daily work, they understand how this daily task fits into this tactic, which relates to these strategies, which relates to these aspirations, which relates back to our true north. And what you're going to find then is that achieving your strategic goals as a corporation is going to become pathetically easy. And you are going to probably have an existential crisis and then need to go to Cancun again just to like deal with it.
Yeah.
But every time, and granted, there hasn't been as many of these times as I would like, but every time I've been able to convince a client to do this, it has been cathartic for every single person in the company, from C-level all the way down to new hire. That everyone has just been so relieved to know that everyone that's in the company isn't trying to steal money. They're not trying to quietly quit. They're just frustrated because they can't be part of the company like they wish they could.
Right. Well, that's sounds like a great ambition for people to pursue and to start to move towards, right? So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective, your stories, your practices. We'll certainly link to your, how to find you in the show notes. And yeah, thanks for coming on, collaborating with me. And I wish you and the team all the best.
Thank you, Jamie. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.